Hello. So yeah, I'm Danilo Gonzalez. I'm here with my friends from Chile too, Luis Reyes, that hot guy over there, and Catherine Meneses too, and probably my beautiful girlfriend, Corny Manuel, who is on her way. Okay, so we are three engineers. We come from Chile and we have some kind of experience in urban agriculture and other fields. For people that don't know, where is Chile? It's South America, and it's a long and thin country. And we are not just tropical. We have all different kinds of weather. And the south of the country, or the south of the continent, it's really cold and really windy. So it's really similar to this weather here, the local weather. So we are super motivated to share our knowledge, but more than knowledge, it's like ideas and motivation, and try to inspire people to produce your own food in your home or in your greenhouse, indoors, outdoors, and no season, just year round. So today we're gonna just talk about seeds. It's a really intense and concentrated topic. So of course I'm not gonna be able to speak about all our projects, all the things that we teach or we help. So I'm gonna be just focused on seeds, and you can feel free to interrupt me whatever you want. We have been working, or I have been working in urban agriculture for maybe almost 10 years. But especially since 2006, I think I have been working for more than 400 families in South America in urban agriculture, and it's inspiring how you can see how they come from, they know nothing about plants, and after 1 or 2 years they're growing and they're eating their own food. But that's not magically, it doesn't happen right away. Even if you have a degree in this kind of fields, you're gonna make so many mistakes. So for all these times I can identify that one of the main points, the main topics, before you start growing your own food is like remember general things. Like for example, when you're working indoors, in your home or in greenhouses, technically or theoretically, you can produce whatever you want. So the real question that you have to make to yourself is like, what do you want to eat? The question like, what can I produce? Please hear that question. You can produce whatever you want, technically, theoretically. So the real question is like, what do you want to eat? The second question is like, okay, when? The thing that I'm trying to say in a subliminal way is like, you can produce whatever you want, but you have to be conscious that you need to plan. You need to learn, you need to know what is the biological cycle of every single crop in order to create a real program even in your own home. How to grow, there are thousands of different techniques, and in our case we're really concentrated, really focused in vertical and horizontal techniques, especially vertical crops. You can see that we were hanging really fast 2 tubes over there, and you can go to our table and we can like share with you hundreds of techniques, right? And of course we try to share our knowledge in indoors gardening. So many people they say that, okay, I'm new in Newfoundland, I want to grow my food, okay, greenhouse. Yeah, it's an option, of course, but you can use your home too. But if you have a greenhouse or you want to start with your greenhouse production, there are several things that you need to consider before even you have the idea to produce food in your greenhouse. Like if you're going to have enough light, ventilation, and heat. When you're growing your own food, especially if it's in your home, in your basement, for example, only your home, your house is not going to be enough. You have to work, because it's really fun. You have to work with your neighbors. So you have to consider if you're gonna have 4 or 5 or 10 people working with you, I mean producing food at the same time with you, you can organize, or you can call us and we coordinate a program for you, not for your own family, for your neighborhood. So in urban agriculture, the greenhouse or the farm or the field is the neighborhood, and your family or your house is like a big garden or a big pot. So every family is like a production cell, production unit, and the group of families is the real farm. So yeah, you have two options, like to go and to create a community garden, or every single house separate, it's a part of that community garden. So if you are alone and you're gonna try to produce your food by yourself, good luck. Probably you're gonna do it, but the amount of food is not gonna be enough. So you have to be conscious of what are your sources or resources. So the network is so important. This kind of people, this kind of evidence is so important. You can create so many connections. The experience, more than our experience or expertise, is your own experience. Just burn your plants. Start with grass or ornamental plant. Just kill them. You're gonna learn from that. And of course, on the internet you can find so much technical and scientific information, right? And at the end, you're gonna learn a lot from yourself, and that's the idea. To learn from yourself, to share your experience with other people. And there are certain people like us that we like to coordinate everything and to share everything. So, the main things that when you want to start to produce your own food from seeds, you need to know some things, like what is the test of germination, what is the vigor. When you're getting seeds from commercial or industrial seeds, you need to read the label and to see the test of germination. The percent that it should be over 95%. Please don't not less. The test of vigor, some companies they do it, some companies they don't. But you can do it. It's really simple. When you do the test of germination, what is the test of germination? It's like from 100 seeds or for 10 seeds. If it's 90 to 95, that means that 95 or 9.5 seeds, they germinate. That you can see that the plant is growing. But that doesn't mean that they're going to survive. That doesn't mean that they're going to finish the entire cycle. So then you need to do the test of vigor. It's really easy. Just take 10 or 20 already germinated plants. Give them not the excellent conditions, just give them the conditions of your place, and then measure in 1 week how many of those ones they are alive, how many of those ones they are dying, or how many of those ones they are like semi-alive. That's going to be your own test of vigor. So in that way, if you realize that, for example, you're trying with lettuce seeds or tomatoes, any crops, doesn't matter. You say, okay, I'm gonna produce like 50 lettuce, or 50 lettuce, and you put like 50 seeds, and you have a 70% of test of germination. You're not gonna have 50 lettuce, you're gonna have a lot less, and then your own test of vigor is like, 30%. That means that from 10 germinated plants, only 3 they're going to be able to survive. So from 50 plants for your original total, probably you're going to have like 20% at the end of the cycle. So that's why at the beginning of your production, you have to do those 2 tests, 2 percentage. After that, you have to consider what is the size of the seed. So many people, they just follow the standard instruction and they put just, okay, the seed 1 inch deep into the soil, and that's it. It's not the same thing like a seed from a watermelon, like from thyme or basil or lettuce, it's a huge difference. So normally it's like the deep, it should be like twice the diameter of the seed. So for some seeds like thyme or some herbs that it's almost like a dust, we suggest of course just 2 or 3 seeds per cell, and just cover like no more than 1 centimeter of soil, and that's it. The soil above the seed is just to give them humidity and to keep the temperature stable. When you're planning, when you're starting with your seedlings, it's really important to identify them, to map them. Because it's so common when it's your first time and you just put all the seeds and they're growing. Oh, so cool, now I'm going to transplant them. But what about the this species, no, that was lettuce, no. What kind of lettuce? So it's really important that you mark all of them and write when do you start with your seedlings. Indoors and outdoors. Indoors, of course, if you're going to produce indoors, there is no season, you can start whatever you want. There is no limitation. Outdoors, of course, in this kind of weather, it is really complicated, so we are trying to suggest to people like start indoors, and then in summer, if you want, you can move the best crops outside, right? One element that probably the people that don't really know is like the history of the seeds. When you're getting seeds from a company or for other farmer, it's really important if you have the chance to know what is the origin of that seed, but not like the botanical information and beautiful information, like romantic information. No, like how was produced that seed and what kind of problem, if it's organic, inorganic, what kind of weather, if it was stress or not, what kind of population, etc. If the production had problem with insects, blah 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 blah. So it's like the clinical history of the seed. In that way, if you're getting a seed from corn from Europe, it's not going to really work in this kind of weather, right? So if you don't have access to that information with the supplier, physically or personally, don't use Google, it's not going to work. You should use other kind of websites like silos.com. It's only for scientific publications, and it's really, really easy to just put the magic words like seed history, the species, and you're going to have a very global idea how it's going to be your production. So many seeds, they are genetically created for one season, especially for big companies like Monsanto, Bayer. They create the seeds just for one season because they are not selling the seeds, right? They are selling probably the fruit or the crop itself, the rest of the plant. So unless the seeds that were produced for seeds production, try to don't use this kind of seeds genetically made for one season in order to get new seeds from those plants. It's confusing. Just if you're gonna use seeds for one season that genetically they are created for one season, just eat them and then use new seeds for the new season. Don't take seeds from this one. There are so many ways, there's so many containers to start with seeds. We suggest trays that they are in our table, between 260 something cells or 120 something cells, no bigger and no smaller. Why? I'm going to try to explain why. There are so many other options, like to use big pots or dig it to the ground on the bed. That's not really nice for this kind of location, for this kind of weather. So try to do it indoors in seedling trays. It's a constant, it's like mandatory. You have to offer to the seeds 99% of humidity in the soil. There are so many options for the soil on media, right? But the things that you have to consider is like they need light. I mean, in the soil, the mix, they need some kind of air. So the texture has to be light and really compact. They need oxygen into the soil solution. And of course, the solution itself with fertilizer later when the plants are growing. The light, so many people say they use light right away for the seeds. It's not really necessary. The light for the seeds is just to heat them, but they don't need light, and we're going to explain it later. So they need light only when they start with photosynthesis, right? So for germinator, especially when you're growing your food in your own place, there are thousands of options. You don't need to buy a germinator and something really complicated. So let's see what are the conditions that you need for the germinator. You need, like I say, 99% of humidity. You need air in the system, and the temperature in the soil should be over 18 centigrade, no less. And the surface of the air, or the microclimate, right? It should be like 24 and even 30 degrees in the surface of the air, but only at the beginning. But no, there is no plant able to survive to 30 degrees for more than 2 or 3 weeks, right? So the period since from your soil until you see the plants germinated and started to grow, it should be between 2 and 18 days with those kind of conditions. And the light is important, but after germination, not before. So we don't really need fertilization right away. You don't need it. You don't need to overwater the seeds. No. And the sunlight, it's up to you if you want to heat them with sunlight, but you don't really need it. So please stop saying like, no, I don't have light in my home, so I can grow seeds. No, you don't really need it. So when I say after or before germination, I'm talking about this. You don't need light fertilization from here. All the sections, you don't need it. You need light fertilization from maybe here. So this period is no more like 18 days. So you don't need to buy that kind of germinator for laboratory, and you can see that they don't have sunlight. It's closed, it's dark, right? And all these pictures that from internet, from Google, from this morning, it's so common. You have one option on the right side. It's about the washer. Why the washer or the dryer? Because it's really warm. You can use simple containers like those ones, right? And it's really cool when you see that there is condensation on the glass, on the plastic. That means that your system is working. But they are using sunlight just as a heat. You can use just the package with eggs, with soil, and cover with plastic, and it's going to work. You can't reuse the same package again, right? But for the first time, yeah, it totally works. Those kind of boxes, right? And they have a thermal cable, electrical cable. So the cable is giving heat to the soil, and you are transmitting heat to the rest of the system. It's super easy. That's some kind of mistakes that we make. Yeah, it's a bathroom. You can use your bathroom, and there's a furnace beside the toilet, and you can put your trays right there, right? And you can even cover with plastic, and it's gonna work. Right? Down over there is a furnace. It's a furnace, and you can leave your trays like touching the furnace, and for conduction, because the furnace is warm. For conduction, all the salt and the soil is going to be heat. It's going to be warm too. But it's not just that. You need to measure. You need to be taking care of it. You need to be checking what is the temperature, how fast getting dry, etc. So my suggestion is like just leave the trays without seeds, just with soil, and measure the temperature, measure the humidity, and measure how fast they get dry. So then you have an idea about how long you have to leave the trays exposed to the heat with the seed. When you start using light, you're going to realize that there is no golden rule. It's like it all depends what kind of species and what kind of intensity of the light and the distance. The only one thing that we could suggest is like never use more than 75 watts with the bulbs, and never closer than 1 feet to the plants. That's a really general idea, right? But in those pictures you can see that the light is so far away from the trays, and you don't really need them, because the light is you're doing nothing when you don't have germinating plants. So it's insane, and you can see the temperature is below 18 degrees, so it's not working, right? There is a furnace close to the wall, and that's the wrong way to do it, because you have a light so far away from the seeds, and you have a furnace so close to the seeds, so you're like, it's a kind of hot hurricane, right? It's insane. Mm-hmm. And then the opposite, like far away from the furnace and super close to the light, and you can see. In that situation at the bottom, the temperature is like over 3. So, no. More examples about germinator. There's so many different kinds. Everything is super cheap, and you can even get it for free. Of course, if you have a greenhouse or even in your house, and you have sunlight and you want to start in the summer, just leave the trays with the seeds into other trays, and then you can cover with plastic, and you're going to have a huge condensation, and they're not going to get dry because the humidity is going to be a trap, right, in the plastic. How long? With the kind of conditions, like no more than 2 weeks, you're going to have the already plants growing inside. So of course you have to remove the plastic. More mistakes. Some people, they do that kind of stuff. Again, the trays are like totally uncovered and they are receiving the heat from the furnace, and you are like cooking the seeds. Doesn't work. You're cooking the plastic. Doesn't work. We are the trains. Like they are so like far away and hiding. It's super complicated to see, to check if everything is working, and if you have pets or if you got these kind of killers, they are complicated. So no. You see? It's more of the same, more mistakes. All this information in this file is going to be on our website, so you can just download it later. Like I was saying, it's almost 40 degrees, and that, what was the intensity? 75 watts? Yeah, it was a ball of 75 watts close to the seeds, and you can see like the full plants are dying. And it's almost 40 degrees, so you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that, right? So you can see on the left, a half of the tray is like barely growing, and the other half is not growing. Why? Because they already germinated, they are growing, but at the bottom they are not receiving light, so there is no plant. And in this side, it's like relatively nicely because they are receiving the light from the window. More mistakes. Never leave the trays like in diagonal position. I don't need to explain it, right? Why I'm showing this? Because I'm trying to show you that you have to try different angles, different distance. Just try, experiment, burn your plants. But that's why it's important to start with grass or ornamental plants, and then with wood. So what is your ventilation system? The door or the... What is your extra light? The bulb and the window. And they're gonna be growing really nice. So then you can see that we put an extra bulb in the tray that we need in this plant. They need light. And after a couple of days, everything starts to grow again. So the light illumination after germination is really important, and some people, they don't know how to manage that aspect, the light. So our suggestion is like just observe your seeds, observe your small plants. They're gonna talk, right? For example, on the left, those 3 small plants, they need more light or they're okay? They look happy? No, they need light because they are growing to the right. That means that amount or intensity of light is not enough. So you have 2 options: to move them closer to the light, or to move the light to the center. And you're going to have the other situation on your right. That's the perfect situation. At the bottom on the left, that is a good situation for light, but there is a low germination, right? You have a low percentage of germination. And at the bottom on the right, that should be like a normal situation. You should have something like that. On the left, up, you can see that the plants, they're starting to demand to need more light. They're starting to go to the left. Right there, that's a good situation. It's a decent amount of light. And these kind of seeds, the kind of plants, they talk by themselves. You can see at the beginning, they were germinating, they were growing really cool, really nice, and they were like, I don't know the English word, but it's etivation. It's when they need more light and they start to grow vertically, but in a really weak way. So you can see that the 3 last small plants, they are really needing more light. The good situations like the last one, you can see that it's super straight. That means like the light is perfect, it's okay. But something's going on with the nutrition or all elements because it's like it's getting really weak. And at the bottom on the right, it's like the direction of the light is correct because they're straight, but the intensity is not enough. Do you see? So the plants are going to talk to you. The same situation, they are looking for life. That small animal is so nice, it's so lovely, but it's a killer too. So they eat, and if they don't eat your trays, they're gonna remove them. So you have to remember that if your greenhouse or even your home or your garden is exposed to birds, you need to isolate your tray. More of the illuminations, more examples about correct illumination. You can see everything is straight, they are not so short, not so tall. Of course, depends on the species, right? Fertilization, really fast. When it's important when you see between 1 or 2 real leaves. From that moment, start fertilizing them. And of course, it's essential when you have 3 or 4 leaves, you need fertilization. It could be organic or inorganic, but they need nutrients. Which ones? NPK, like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So the people, they have no idea about this. It's like NPK, just go to the store and you're gonna see 3 different numbers. So at the beginning, when you're starting with seeds, the plants, they need a lot of nitrogen. And probably at the end of the crop, they're gonna need more other kind of mixes, more potassium chloride. But of course, this is really general. If you have a greenhouse, of course, or you want to make an investment in more instrument and to measure everything, the electrical conductivity should be like between 1 and 1.7 for general crops, and the pH, of course, really general 6 to 65, close to 7, that is neutral. Don't use super magical fantasy standard mixes that they say, yeah, you can grow all these kind of species, just use this mix of fertilizer and put those seeds and pray and you're gonna have plants. No, really. All that mix of fertilizer, they are for already grown plants. But for your own, just small plants, just use your own mix of fertilizer. The frequency of watering and fertilization there is no golden rule for this. It's whatever you see that they are right. So simple, right? But for the first part of the reproduction, when before they're germinated, we say that they need 95% of humidity, right? So you're not really watering them, you're just keeping the system wet. A second option when you're producing your crops from seeds, if it was super hard for you the first time to find a good species for your house, for your weather, and from 100 seeds you have 20 that are alive, and are you gonna waste again time and energy sowing, in this case, 200 seeds in order to have 40 new plants? No, just take cuttings from your 20 plants. Okay, take cuttings for your plants, and the good thing of the advantage or the benefit of cuttings is like genetically, if you propagate plants for cuttings, genetically is going to be the same quality of your plant from seeds, right? So you don't need to make an investment in seeds again. Almost any plant is good for cuttings. There are so many different techniques for cuttings, so I'm not going to talk about that. You can ask us later or just email us. But honestly, you can produce almost anything, even lettuce from taking cuttings from these. Many people, they ask us when it's a good time to transplant the plants. When you see 85% of the roots covering the media, or when you just pull over and they go out, they take out really easily. But when you pull them from the tray and you just see, if you just see a lot of roots without soil, they are not ready. Yeah, they have roots, but they are not ready to be transplanted.
should look like this. And if you have a greenhouse, of course, we suggest to use 4-inch pot, no more than 6-inch pot, because it's going to be complicated to keep them warm. And the second part of our project, our activities, is to show to people how to grow vertically after you pass all this germination nightmare. If you don't have space, you have a greenhouse, you have so many different techniques, especially vertical crops. So I'm just going to show you really fast. We use bottles, PVC tubes, but we don't sow the seeds directly to them. We use germinator, we use trays, and in the ways that I was showing you. So only after 18 days or probably 3 or 4 weeks, we transplant the plants to these techniques. Right, vertical and horizontal crops are just going to pass it. That's this. And you can see that kind of bag hanging. At the top we have like 3 or 4 different herbs, and at the bottom is hanging tomato and zucchini at the same time. So there is no limitation when you're doing vertical crops. The space is not your limitation anymore. The only one limitation is your time, probably the light, and probably the nutrition, the fertilization. Okay? More examples of vertical crops. More techniques. All the techniques we apply in South America. There are those ones that are from Chile. A really nice technique when you have a greenhouse, and it's really complicated to keep them warm. Just use the micro tunnels. It's like a small greenhouse inside of the greenhouse. So you have 2 or 3 different layers of plastic. So it's really easy to keep the crops warm. You can use even tires. That's a typical situation. As one of the families that we were working with the McMorran Community Center, she was the only one with problems with the seeds. She said, never grows with me. I have bad hands. I don't have talent. I love plants, but I kill them. Well, the reason is this one. Like, she wasn't using any kind of germinator. She was using the sunlight, trying to germinate those seeds or those small plants, using the cardboard, the package of eggs. And the only one heat source was the sunlight at the end of winter. So I don't need to explain that. So if you're gonna try to produce your food in your own place, the most important thing is to give the seeds the conditions that they need, the heat, the illumination, the humidity, etc., etc. And then when you have your real plants, they are growing, then you can start to play with vertical crops, horizontal crops, and you can use these hanging crops close to the window, well, after you pass the nightmare of the seeds. And that's pretty much, I don't want to abuse all the time. There's a lot of information in our website, and just email us and we want to be super happy to help you. And if you have, for example, a greenhouse, or you want to start from zero to produce your food in your place, take pictures of your place, take pictures wherever you want to start to produce, and we're going to give you a very good answer with technical information. And if it's possible, we can go and we visit the families. The way how it works is like we go to the places, we go to the neighborhood, and we see, okay, show me your basement, show me what you want to eat. And so, unfortunately, we can't go for every single house. So, whenever we receive a call or email that for a visit, we suggest that, okay, if you want us to visit your place, please call more neighbors. So, for us, it's much better to visit a neighborhood more than just one house. That's pretty much, and thank you for your time. I know probably that I'm not super clear because there's a lot of information, and keep enjoying this event. Okay, thank you.